Good afternoon, dear viewers of my YouTube channel. Did you know that the largest airline in America, Delta Airlines, made more money in 2025 from credit cards than from transporting passengers? After hearing this news, I decided to record new videos related to credit cards. Credit card game. If you think this topic doesn't concern or affect you, you're mistaken. Albert Einstein once said that compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. Those who understand it will earn from it, and those who don't will pay for it. The same applies to credit cards. If you think you're not playing this game, you're mistaken. And in this video, I'll explain why it's so important not only to understand how this world works when it comes to credit cards, but also that you have to participate in this game. And it's crucial that you not only know the rules or take part, but actually win. I'm launching a new series dedicated to credit cards. I'll explain the history of credit cards and tell you which cards you should use. Of course, everyone's situation is unique, so I'll be showing different options. But today in this video, I want to explain how credit cards work, what goes on behind the scenes, and who profits from it and how. So without any further delay, let's get started and discuss this very interesting topic. If you understand it, you'll be able to make money from it. If not, you'll end up paying for it. In Canada, you could say this game began in 1958 when Canadian Tire introduced Canadian Tire money. I think many of us still remember those paper notes we used to get when paying at Canadian Tire, which were meant to motivate us to come back to the store and use those notes as currency. In 1984, Air Canada joined this game and launched Aeroplan. But they had quite a few other problems, and in 2000, they ended up transferring it to a company called Amex. But after they saw how profitable it was and that this company was actually making quite a lot of money, in 2014, they forced it to sell the company back to Air Canada. And at that point, Air Canada paid $450 million for the company. Now let's fast forward to the present day. How is it possible to play this game nowadays? How can you, just by using this card, earn so many points that you can fly to Tokyo, and not just fly, but fly in business class without having to pay $5, $6, $7, or $8,000 and only have to pay maybe the taxes, which amount to just $200 or $300? Many people think that credit cards offer these kinds of services or opportunities because people pay for credit cards. Maybe it's $150 a year or even $799 a year, but in reality, that's not the case. That's the monthly or annual fee you pay for a credit card. Yes, it does help them provide the opportunity to give you some points, to give you additional perks. But in reality, that's not where they make their money. They earn it from what's called the interchange fee. When you use a credit card in a store, the store that uses this service has to pay a fee to the credit card company or the bank. The fee can vary. It might be 1%, 1.5%, 2%, or even 2.5%. It depends on which card you use. When you start to understand this game involving credit cards, and when you look at our neighbors in America, you'll be surprised at how many more opportunities Americans have. For example, if we earn 2 or 3 points for using this card, Americans use the exact same card and maybe even paying for the same products get twice as many points, or in some cases, even 3 times as many. The answer is very simple. In America, there is no regulation on how much banks or credit companies are allowed to charge in fees. They can do whatever they want. But if we look at Canada, we have restrictions, even restrictions related to legislation, because our government does not want credit cards or banks to make too much money from this service. Now, I want to make one note. You've probably heard in the news that Mr. Trump wants to make it so that credit companies can charge a maximum interest rate of 10%. This, of course, will have a very negative impact on American credit companies. I think that because of this, maybe they will start looking a bit more in our direction and offer us more interesting options than what we have today. And now I would like to show you how credit cards and banks make money. There are 3 categories of credit cards. The first is the regular basic card. These are cards that don't cost you anything, like Canadian Tire or Superstore cards for which you don't pay anything. There are no monthly fees or any annual charges. The second category is premium cards, where you do have to pay. It could be $130, it could be $150, $250, $599, or even $799. It all depends on what additional services and benefits the company offers. The third category is American Express. Remember the name of this category, because this is the most interesting category, which is connected to this game, where you can actually make quite a bit of money. Now let's look at an example to understand who earns what and how much. Let's say you went to a store and spent $100. Do you have a card that costs nothing, like Canadian Tire or Superstore? Then, out of those $100, 98.1% goes to the store where you made your purchase. 1% goes to the bank that issued your credit card, let's say RBC, TD, or Scotia. Mastercard or Visa gets 0.4%, and 0.5% goes to the organization that handles all these transactions. That's if we're talking about a card that costs nothing. Now pay attention, if you use a card that costs say $120, $130, $140 and so on, but it's still a Mastercard or Visa, 97.6% goes to the store and 1.5% goes to the bank that issued the credit card. Visa or Mastercard gets 0.6% and the organization processing the transaction receives 0.3%. Now, pay attention to American Express. With American Express, the store receives exactly 97% of the total. And the entire remaining 3% of that transaction goes to American Express. They get the issuing bank's share, the credit card's share, and the processing network's share. Absolutely every single penny of that fee goes directly to American Express. That's why they're able to offer extra points, give more points, provide perks, and all sorts of interesting features that other cards simply can't afford. They just don't have that kind of money. That's why it's very important. And in future videos, I'll talk about this topic. I'll explain which cards to use, where, and how to use them correctly. But for you to understand why American Express becomes so interesting and why so many stores don't like American Express, it's precisely for that reason, because it costs them. It costs them a lot of money compared to others. Almost twice as much as if someone paid with a Mastercard or Visa. And now, for your information. How much do these cards cost stores approximately? Let's say if a store sells $500,000 a year, then if you use regular free cards, it costs them about $9,500. If you use paid premium cards, it's about $12,000. But if you use American Express, it costs them $15,000. So American Express is the most profitable card for us, but the least profitable card for stores. Do you know who the most profitable customers for stores are? It's those who pay with cash or use a debit card. Every time I'm at the checkout and see someone pay with either cash or a debit card, I always wonder, what's the reason for that? Or does this person not have a credit card? Maybe they have a bad credit history. Or do they not understand what they're doing, which is probably the reason? Or maybe the person can't manage money and knows they'll spend too much with credit cards, so they use debit cards instead. But for the store, you are the most profitable customer if you pay with a debit card or if you pay with cash. On the one hand, this is a bit unfair, because the person who paid with a debit card is, in theory, covering the cost for the person behind them, who might pay with a card that could cost $160 or $500 or even $799. Because the person standing behind them is making money from this. And the person who just paid with a debit card or cash has helped the person behind them earn money. So it's unfair, but that's how it is. That's why my goal with these videos is to show you how you can earn from this, not lose. You know, there are situations where I think it's also unfair to the credit companies, because if you play this game incorrectly or break the rules, it could happen that the company simply closes your card and you'll have to look for something else. Especially if you get penalized by American Express, you'll be punished quite severely. Let me give you an example, just one of the reasons. When you open a card, many companies offer a very large welcome bonus. Yes, it could be 100,000 or even 150,000. At the moment, I even have one card with a 150,000 point bonus. You can get these points just for opening the card, but I'll discuss that later when I start recommending some cards to you. For example, you get a card with a welcome bonus of 100,000 points. 100,000 points, even if we take it at a 1-to-1 rate, is about $1,000. But if you use them correctly, that's at least $2,000. And if you book tickets the right way and in the right place, it could even be $3,000 or $4,000. What some experts do is simply use this bonus, get it, and then cancel the card a year later. And so they start playing the game. First they open a card in one place and get the bonus, then in another. You know, maybe you could play this way in the past. Now, this can be stopped very quickly. Especially don't forget, nowadays with AI, it's very easy to find out quickly. If they see your behavior is inappropriate, they will stop it very quickly. That's why I will explain to you how you can play this game legally and fairly without abusing it and one day receiving a letter saying that your card will soon stop working. How can you make money with credit cards? It's by using the right card in the right place. Because there are places where you need to pay with this credit card. Or there are places where it's better to use this credit card. I will explain all of this to you in the next videos. Right now, I just wanted to roughly describe the situation and what you need to pay attention to. Because some cards also give you a bit of luxury, like being able to go to the airport and instead of sitting somewhere on a bench, if there are even any seats, you can enter a lounge where you have an armchair, free drinks, and free food. There are credit cards for that. There are also cards that quite literally let you fly cheaply. So for each category, there are specific cards. I won't be talking about this topic in this video, but in the future, I will suggest or explain which cards are available for people. Let's say a typical family, a standard family with children. That's one category of cards. Another might be just a husband and wife, but they don't have children. For them, I would recommend different credit cards. And if, say, it's a private entrepreneur, for them, private entrepreneurs, this game is very interesting because they have the opportunity to play it much better. Why? Because a lot of transactions go through their accounts. And how do you earn points? The more transactions go through your credit card, the more points you earn. It's simply profitable. This is a game for those who not only have a business or are private entrepreneurs, but who have corporations or LTDs. It's honestly indescribable how beneficial it is to use these cards. But I'll explain all of this in the future. Right now, I just wanted to talk about what options are out there, what's important and what's not. Also, in one of the videos, I'll explain how you can pay for certain transactions that aren't allowed with credit cards. For example, right now you can't pay your taxes with a credit card. You can't pay your property tax with a credit card. If you have a business, you can't pay remittances for your employees' payroll with a credit card either. You can't pay GST or corporate tax. All of this can be paid with a credit card. If you use the right credit card, you can imagine the kind of points we're talking about. You can earn 200, 300, 400,000, maybe even 1 million points a year. And that's a huge amount of money. And then you can really, if you work hard, especially people who have their own business, who work day and night, thanks to playing the game right and using a special platform that allows you to use your business account to pay, say, taxes and so on, you can earn a lot of points and simply take your family on vacation once or twice a year. And not just any vacation, but one with a bit of luxury, so to speak, right? But I will discuss all of this in the future. I will also explain the difference between the points, because you can get simple cashback, you can get airline points, or you can get American Express points. The difference between them is huge. For example, cashback, well, that's the worst kind of points you can get. Why? Because it's just money, right? For every dollar you get 1 cent, so to speak. But if you use, say, an Aeroplan card and earn Aeroplan points, then each point is worth about 2 cents. If you use American Express, that's a whole different story. It's amazing. But we'll talk about all of that in the future. This credit game consists of several parts. First, having the right cards. Second, earning as many points as possible. Third, using those points in the right place. For example, you can fly to Europe and use Air Canada points and spend 60,000 points just for economy class. But at the same time, if you use the right platform, you can fly to Europe in business class for 60,000 points. And believe me, it's a huge difference whether you're flying business or economy. Why did I decide to record this video? Because I see how hard our people work. And this is one of the few options where an ordinary regular person can use a system that was actually created for wealthy people and can have the opportunity to make money from it. Or let's say, have a great vacation with your family without it costing you anything. But there is one very important point here, which I will talk about in every one of my videos. You can only win this game if you are disciplined. If you make 2 mistakes, you lose this game. The first is if you start abusing credit cards. If you realize the power of these points and start spending and buying things or products you don't need just to earn more points. By no means, if you do that, you've already lost this game. You can only win this game if you continue to behave the way you do today. You just need to act responsibly. Second, if you ever can't pay off your credit card, bring your credit card balance to 0 by the end of the month. You automatically lose this game. That's exactly what the companies offering credit cards are hoping for. Because a huge number of people won't be able to use them properly and will lose out because of it. So if at the end of the month you can't pay off your credit card balance, you'll end up paying 20, 25, or maybe even more % interest on your balance. And then the interest you pay will cover the rewards for those smart people who play this game correctly. That's why your goal should be to never, under any circumstances, abuse credit cards and never carry a balance that you have to pay interest on. Use credit cards as if they were debit cards. If you don't have money in your account, then you can't buy anything. And there's not much motivation to use a debit card either, because you don't get any points. If you behave this way, you can win this game. Now the question is, who ultimately profits from this and who loses? Do you think it's the store? No. The store adds 2 to 3% to the prices to make up for this loss associated with credit cards. The one who loses is the person who doesn't participate in this game and doesn't want anything to do with it. If you pay with a debit card, if you pay with cash, you have to pay for these products at a price that's 3% higher without getting anything in return. And who wins? Credit card companies, banks, and those people who use the right credit cards. That's all for today. In the next videos, I will explain all the details, all the credit cards, which platforms, and where and how to use them correctly. With that, I say goodbye to you. I wish you all the very best, health, and blessings. Until next time in the virtual world. This was Victor Schäfer with you.
Thank you for watching this video. We hope you found it useful. We would be glad if you share it with your friends and acquaintances.
Subscribe to us on Facebook at VS Financial Group and on YouTube at VS Solutions.
If you are interested in getting a mortgage or need insurance, fill out the form on our website vssolutions.ca.
Contact us by phone at 1-877-282-0904 or email us at save@vssolutions.ca.
Savor every moment of your life today, and we will build and establish a prosperous and thriving tomorrow for you.